Hello, Orientation to the Teaching Profession class. Welcome to week 2. I wanted to, well, first of all, I hope you had a great long weekend. And I wanted to thank you especially for diving in to week 1 with such, with just such energy and substance and asking great questions and supportive of your classmates and depth and fun. And so I just wanted to thank you for that. And I very much look forward to week 2. And I'm very grateful to the student from our class who called today with some questions about, they're kind of formatting questions about Canvas. And so I wanted to make sure, and it reminded me to put this in this video, so I wanted to make sure to share this information with you. So every instructor, I think we all teach on Canvas a little bit differently. And what I've done after a couple of semesters, actually a number of semesters of trial and error, is everything that you need for the week is within the module. So over on the left hand side of the screen where it says home, module, grades, everything you need is right there. So there's, our home page, which pretty much doesn't change. But then you go into the modules, and everything you need for that week are listed on the overview, which is on the first page of the module, and then all the assignments that you need are in there. So for example, I guess there's something popping up that the Sir Ken Robinson, the response to that video is due, and it is not. That is due week 3. I think it's appearing on the calendar, and it carried over from when it was due. It carried over when it was due in the summer. The updating of the dates is off a little bit, and so that'll be adjusted in time for week 3, but you don't need to worry about that. Everything that's due is right there in the module. And so right over here on the left, home, modules, grades, everything across the top, like assignments, what does it have? Assignments, calendar, those other things. You don't necessarily need those. I don't use those. I find that students, they can be very confusing sometimes, and the hope and the intent behind the way that our class is structured is that the energy and focus and time is on the content and on our community and not on negotiating technology. So I wanted to remember to tell you about that. And if you have not yet printed out the student guide, the student handbook, which was in last week's module, please do so, because this is going to be, and I would just stick it right beside your computer, because a lot of the questions that you're going to have from our program are going to be right here. And I also wanted to share one of this week's readings, which is Teaching Passionately Theoretically. It actually comes from this book, Teaching Passionately, What's Love Got to Do with It, which I co-wrote with my mom, who is a professor in education. And other publications of this book don't look like this, because that's a picture of my mom and my daughter Wynn, and she is now bigger than I am. And so she's 15 and this beautiful young woman. And so others don't have this, but when Mom and I were writing this book together, we had what we called dueling computers, kind of instead of dueling banjos, and we would set them up back to back, and we would write. And so that's a picture of that time. But I chose this chapter specifically, so as you go into your observations, this is going to be one of the lenses through which that you'll experience whatever is happening in that classroom. So you'll get it way more into the schools of thought in EDUC 202. This is kind of like a taste, and it's I was going to say like a drop of water, like in a huge bucket or ocean, but it's actually a pretty weighty drop. And so go ahead and read this, and be kind of aware of the transmission, generative, and transformative. And as you go into the classrooms, there are going to be real specific things that are going to kind of give you a clue and cue into what kind of a classroom that is. Some things to look for: are the desks in rows, or are they in groups? Where is the teacher's desk? Is it in the front, in the middle of the class, or is it off to the corner? And so, and there's more examples like that. And of course, in your observations, you're going to also notice, observe, just notice what you notice. What do you like? What don't you like? What feels good? What might you want to do? What do you never want to do ever in your whole teaching career? And you're going to write about that, but you're also going to include, this, appears to be a generative classroom, and this is the evidence why. So I wanted to touch base on that, and the book that I wanted to share with you this week, for this week's reading, is Frank McCourt's Teacher Man. And for those of you who are familiar with Angela's Ashes, you will recognize Frank McCourt, the book that I read and felt like I had no right to ever complain ever again in my life. But anyways, this is Teacher Man. What a lot of people don't realize about Frank McCourt is that he taught in a public high school for 30 years before he wrote Angela's Ashes, and this is about that time. He taught in a vocational high school, and he writes about his adventures and wisdom gained in this book, and I just love it. And I want to read you about his first day teaching. The problem of the sandwich started when a boy named Petey called out, "Anyone want a bologna sandwich?" "You kiddin'? Your mom must hate you giving you sandwiches like that." Petey threw the brown paper sandwich bag at the critic, Andy, and the class cheered. "Fight, fight," they said. "Fight, fight." The bag landed on the floor between the blackboard and Andy's front row seat. I came from behind my desk and made the first sound of my teaching career. "Hey!" 4 years of higher education at New York University, and all I could think of was, "Hey!" So I said it again, "Hey!" They ignored me. They were busy promoting the fight that would kill time and divert me from any lesson I might be planning. I moved toward Petey and made my first teacher statement: "Stop throwing sandwiches." Petey and the class looked startled. This new teacher, just stopped a good fight. New teachers are supposed to mind their own business or send for the principal or a dean, and everyone knows it's years before they come. Which means you can have a really good fight while waiting. Besides, what are you going to do with a teacher who tells you to stop throwing sandwiches when you already threw the sandwich? Benny called out from the back of the room, "Hey, Teach, he already threw the sandwich." "No use telling him now, don't throw the sandwich. There's the sandwich on the floor." The class laughed. There's nothing sillier in the world than a teacher telling you don't do it after you already did it. One boy covered his mouth and said, "Stupid," and I knew he was referring to me. I wanted to knock him out of his seat, but that would have been the end of my teaching career. Besides, the hand that covered his mouth was huge, and his desk was too small for his body. Someone said, "Yo, Benny, are you a lawyer, man?" And the class laughed again. Yeah, they said, and waited for my move. What will this new teacher do? Professors of education at New York University never lectured on how to handle flying sandwich situations. They talked about the theories and philosophies of education, about moral and ethical imperatives, about the necessity of dealing with the whole child, the gestalt, if you don't mind. But never about, if you don't mind the child's felt needs, but never about critical moments in the classroom. Should I say, "Hey, Petey, get up here and pick up that sandwich," or else? Should I pick it up myself and throw it into the waste paper basket to show my contempt for people who throw sandwiches while millions starve around the world? They had to recognize I was boss, that I was tough, that I'd take none of their crap. The sandwich in wax paper lay halfway out of the bag, and the aroma told me that this was more than just bologna. I picked it up and slid it from its wrapping. It was not any ordinary sandwich where meat is slapped between slices of tasteless white American bread. This bread was dark and thick, baked by an Italian mother in Brooklyn, bread firm enough to hold slices of rich bologna, layered with slices of tomato, onions, and peppers, drizzled with olive oil and charged with a tongue-dazzling relish. I ate the sandwich. It was my first act of classroom management. My mouth, clogged with sandwich, attracted the attention of the class. They gawked up at me. 34 boys and girls, average age 16. I could see the admiration in their eyes. First teacher in their lives to pick up a sandwich from the floor and eat it in full view. Sandwich man. In my boyhood in Ireland, we admired one schoolmaster who peeled and ate an apple every day and rewarded good boys with the long peel. Petey said, "Teacher, that's my sandwich you ate." Class told him, "Shut up, can't you see the teacher's eating?" I licked my fingers. I said, "Yum," made a ball of paper bag and wax paper and flipped it into the trash basket. The class cheered. "Wow," they said, and "Yo, baby," and "Man, look at that. He eats the sandwich, he hits the basket. Wow." So this is teaching? Yeah, wow. I felt like a champion. I ate the sandwich, I hit the basket, I felt I could do anything with this class. I thought I had them in the palm of my hand. Fine, except I didn't know what to do next. I was there to teach and wondered how I should move from a sandwich situation to spelling or grammar or the structure of a paragraph or anything related to the subject I was supposed to teach. English. My students smiled till they saw the principal's face framed in the door window, bushy black eyebrows halfway up his forehead shaped a question. He opened the door and beckoned me out. "A word, Mr. McCourt." Petey whispered, "Hey, mister, don't worry about the sandwich. I didn't want it anyway." The class said, "Yeah, yeah," in a way that showed they were on my side. If I had trouble with the principal, my first experience of teacher-student solidarity. In the classroom, your students might stall and complain, but when a principal or any other outsider appeared, there was immediate unity, a solid front. Out in the hallway, he said, "I'm sure you understand, Mr. McCourt, it isn't seemly to have teachers eating their lunch at 9 a.m. in their classrooms in the presence of these boys and girls. Your first teacher experience, and you choose to begin it by eating a sandwich. Is that proper practice here, young man? No, gives children the wrong idea. Think of the problems we've had if teachers just dropped everything and began to eat their lunches in class, especially in the morning. We have enough trouble with kids sneaking little nibbles and attracting cockroaches and various rodents. Squirrels have been chased from these rooms, and I won't even mention the rats. If we're not vigilant, these kids, some teachers, your colleagues, young man, will turn the school into one big cafeteria." I wanted to tell him the truth about the sandwich and how well I handled the situation, but if I did, it might be the end of my teaching job. I wanted to say, "Sir, it was not my lunch. That was a sandwich of a boy who threw it at another boy, and I picked it up because I'm new here and this thing happened in my class, and there was nothing in the courses at college on sandwiches and throwing and retrieving of. I know I ate the sandwich, but I did it out of desperation, or I did it to teach the class a lesson about waste and to show them who was in charge, or Jesus, I ate it because I was hungry, and I promised never to do it again for fear of losing my good job," though you must admit the class was quiet. If that's the way to capture the attention of kids in high school, we should send out for a pile of bologna sandwiches. Instead, I said nothing. The principal said he was here to help me because, looks like I might need a lot of help. That's what we're here for. No eating in class for teacher or student. "Yes, sir," and he waved me back into the classroom. The class said, "What'd he say?" He said I shouldn't eat my lunch in classroom at 9 a.m. "You weren't eating your lunch." "I know, but he saw me with the sandwich and told me not to do it again." "Man, that's unfair." Petey said, "I'll tell my mom you liked her sandwich. I'll tell her you got in a lot of trouble over her sandwich." "All right, Petey, but don't tell her you threw it away." Nah, she'd kill me. She's from Sicily. They get excited over there in Sicily." "Tell her it was the most delicious sandwich I've ever had in my life, Petey." "Okay." Mea culpa. Instead of teaching, I told stories, anything to keep them quiet and in their seats. They thought I was teaching. I thought I was teaching. I was learning. So it may not be a flying bologna sandwich, but there will be something on your first day. Who knows? And on your 51st day, and on your 381st day. So I wanted to share that because that always reminds me of that. So I very much look forward to our conversation this week, diving into the readings, diving into the ideas, and thank you again for contributing so much to our class.